Each day we'll be going by the future of American states. We'll be starting with the first state in the alphabet. I believe and that's Alabama. So Alabama is a very. It's basically the state that people when you think of stupid dumb people, you think of Alabama. When you think of hillbillies, you think of Alabama and Mississippi. Basically, these four states down in the South, because the South, there's two parts of the South. There's the South where everybody's moving to, which are these five states. But these are the states that nobody wants to go to in the South. And Texas and Oklahoma, we're not counting those two states. So the South is basically divided into two parts. Basically, the will Alabama really change in the future? Or will Alabama be stuck being in the Stone Age and not changing at all? That will be but politically, Alabama has always been a safe red state. Back in the day, it was a safe blue state, but the state became a swing state in the 1960s, and then Bush basically solidified the state into becoming a red state. We'll go back to being a blue state in the future, or we'll stay a ruby red state in the future. The state of Alabama's demographics is basically like this. Alabama's demographic population looks like this. It is mostly English with one German county and black African American in the middle. We have this map or the largest ancestry in most counties, and Alabama is African American in 2000. But that was again 20 years ago, basically. And now the modern demographics of Alabama looks like this. Alabama is also a more rural state, and most of the people who live outside of the central part of the state, everybody besides, of course, the central part of the state, which is majority black, do not vote for Democrats, basically. And basically, the state looks like this. That's the demographic part of the population. I think as Alabama is not as badly hated as Mississippi, Louisiana. Those two states are even more hated. And Arkansas, well, it's only known for Walmart. And we'll get to Arkansas soon, because it's one of the next letters on the alphabet. So, of course, we're going to talk about Arkansas soon. The next state we're going to talk about is Alaska, which Alaska is a strange state in itself. But Alabama will most likely not change within the next 10 years. Alabama is a state that most likely stay a very conservative state. It is a state that is very conservative. Alabama is also very religious. It is I think the most religious state in all of America. And with the world demographic trend going against atheism, this spells major doom for Democrats flipping the state, because the demographic trends show that atheists are not having kids, which again is a problem in itself, because most atheists vote the Democrats. States that are less religious typically vote more Democrat. And states that are less religious, for example, the Northeast, like Vermont and states like that, typically vote blue. So Alabama will most likely not change probably for the next 10 years. 2040 is 20 years from now, basically. Actually, 18 years from now. But 2040, things could actually change if the state becomes like Florida and Georgia. Population growth. Let's look at the states of Florida and Georgia. These two states are going to be like this by 2040. Georgia will be a safe blue state, and Florida will be a safe red state. But why are those two states trending in the opposite directions? Well, Georgia is mostly because of the Atlanta metro area, with again a lot of more white liberals are moving there. A lot of more black people are moving to Georgia. Meanwhile, in Florida, the main demographic that's shifting the state rightward is the Cubans, and of course, more elderly people who tend to be more conservatives that are moving from the north. So Florida, has been moving further and further to the right, and Democrats will not really win that state. But we'll get to Florida in a different video and get more in depth. But Alabama is not really a hotspot for travel or movement. So we have the top trending states for 2022, and of course, Alabama is not one of those states. I think the reason why people don't want to move to Alabama is because of its reputation. Alabama has a really bad reputation as a state. It really does. People do not view Alabama in a positive light. And basically Alabama is one of the states that people do want to live in, but it is in the lower side of states that people want to live in. It is in the same group with Oklahoma, Nebraska, the Dakotas, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Not Vermont. West Virginia, no, not West Virginia, Virginia, basically. And the states that people want to get out of includes the northern parts of the state, and of course Alaska, because nobody wants to live in fucking Alaska. There's nothing good in Alaska. But even look at the raw population gain. Sin. The raw population gain in Alabama. And basically Alabama is one of the faster growing states with Indiana and some other states, but it isn't as growing as fast as people thought it would. And people even thought that Alabama would lose a House seat, basically reducing Alabama's power in the country even more. In the entire state. And Alabama is in 2022, the population grew at around 0.31. And its growth since 2022 is around 3.43%. But compared to these states over here, Tennessee, North Carolina, and all these other states which have under double digits, and its neighbors which are growing not too fast either. For example, in Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi and Alabama, compared to all of the other southern neighbors, Alabama is still growing as fast as Arkansas, but it's still growing far slower than Illinois and New York and California. Actually, according to this, California gained 6.28% people, but California is one of the most moved out to states in the country. So I don't know where California is getting its people anyways. So you never know. So that's basically about Alabama. Alabama will likely say, unless something major changes in the Alabama's demographics, for example, if it becomes like the next Florida, which is unlikely it will be, and Alabama is also mostly like a rural center state as well, where the Democrats seem to continue losing day by day, which is why every county in West Virginia and Oklahoma are red, because those states are mostly rural anyways. So it is very unlikely Democrats will probably win Alabama, maybe outside of a governor election, or outside of course, a midterm, like a D+20 year, like it was in 2018, or outside of like a special election for the Senate or the House. Where the Republicans are completely incompetent and don't know what to do. So basically, Alabama is mostly going to be very unchanged during, of course, the next couple of decades, and the probably might not even change for the rest of the century. So that's basically about Alabama. Goodbye.